Today I will talk about the Pánfilo de Narváez Explorations. Narvaez was another of the lesser-known explorers. His disastrous expedition was one of the earliest to reach the current state of Texas. Before getting started, I would encourage you to subscribe to the Mossy Feet Books YouTube channel for more great content. I would also entreat you to visit my website, www.mossyfeetbooks.com. There you will find sample chapters, podcasts, a slew of content, and links to where you can buy my books. While visiting the website, you subscribe to it and receive email notifications when I publish a new book or other content like this video and podcast. You can also subscribe to the Mossy Feet Books YouTube channel to ensure you do not miss any of my content there. This episode is based on my book, Colonial American History Stories 1215 through 1664. It is the first book in my six-book Timeline of United States History series. You can find my book locally at the Walnut Street Variety Shop in Batesville, Indiana. Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, granted Spanish conquistador Pánfilo de Narváez a license to claim the Gulf Coast of what is now the United States. Pánfilo de Narváez lived from about 1478 until November 1528. I'm sorry, I'll say that over. He lived from about 1478 until November 1528. Historians know little of his early life. Possibly native to Castile, he entered military while still a youth. He joined a campaign to conquer Jamaica in 1509. He then moved on to conquer Cuba under the command of his uncle Diego Velázquez de Cuellar. The expedition proved to be a disaster when his uncle sent him to capture conquistador Hernando Cortés, whose loyalty to Spain had come under question. Cortés's force battled with Narváez in a fierce struggle in which Narváez lost an eye. Cortés captured him and held him prisoner for about 2 years. After his return to Spain, Charles V granted Narváez the title of Adelanto of Florida. This entitled Adelanto to conquer Florida and the Gulf Coast. Narváez had to secure the funding for the expedition. The license gave him 1 year to recruit an army, travel to Florida, found 2 towns with at least 100 colonists, and to establish 2 forts along the coast. The Crown would receive 5% of any wealth the expedition acquired. By June the next year, Narváez was ready to depart. Narváez gathered a fleet of 5 ships and over 600 men. The expedition departed San Lucar de Barrameda on June 17, 1527. The ships arrived on the Canary Islands about a week later, a tradition that began with Columbus's first voyage in 1492. At the Canaries, they would supply with water, fruit, and other supplies. He sailed on to Santo Domingo, where he obtained more horses and supplies. While here, the ill-fated Narváez was another of the lesser-known explorers, having lost 450 out of its 600 men to current state of Texas. On that expedition, before getting started, over 100 Narváez's men deserted at this time. He sailed on to Cuba to gather more supplies. He dispatched 2 ships to Trinidad to obtain more horses. However, the hurricane struck, sinking both ships. The overwinters in Sarajuegos, my books, departing in the spring, the voyage to Havana. The website, however, storms swept them past the settlement, they spent when I published a new book ensnared in the content like this video and Narváez tried to sail on to Mexico, but tickle seas prevented them from reaching that point. They sailed on to Florida, reaching that coast in the middle of April 1528. They set up camp probably at the site of San Augustine. Narváez decided to divide his force into 2 groups, one of which would sail around Florida, searching for a bay one of his men had described. This man, named Muruelo, claimed to know the Florida coast well. Narváez would lead an exploratory mission into Florida. The expedition was short of supplies, and the men were soon placed on starvation rations. As the starving men waded through swamps and traversed the difficult terrain, they come under attack by natives who then harassed them constantly. As they explored, Muruelo returned to their original camp and found it deserted. He would spend the next 2 years searching for Narváez to no avail. Narváez's men made their way to the coast to a place they called the Bay of Horses. They named it this as they decided to build boats and use their beloved horses as food while they built the boats. They constructed 5 small boats by September the 22nd, 1528, and they set sail for Mexico with about 50 men in each boat. A storm blew them off course, and the starving men landed at a site to be Galveston in South Texas. During the stormy passage, Narvaez's boat disappeared, never to be seen again. The remainder of the expedition, the survivors at this point were about 80 men, reached the mainland. By 1532, only 4 men survived. These men hiked to Culiacan, Texas, reaching it in July 1536. Spanish slavers rescued them at this point. One of the survivors returned to Spain, where he wrote a book chronicling the expedition. The next episode will cover Hernando de Soto's disastrous expedition to the Mississippi River. The articles in the book contain much more detail about the topics discussed. Additionally, there are other topics not included in this podcast. I encourage you to subscribe to both my website, www.mossyfeetbooks.com, and the YouTube channel. It would be the Mossy Feet Book YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this podcast.